If you watched Food Network throughout the early 2000s, then you already know about Sandra Lee, the television chef who pioneered the culinary art of semi-homemade cooking. That's what she calls her use of clever tricks that transform basic store-bought ingredients into a larger mass of food with more puzzling flavor combinations and textures. Plus fun and funky decorations that let the world know I'm the cool aunt who lets the kids have some white wine on Christmas Eve. And once you get a feel for Aunt Sandy's eccentric personality, it starts to make sense why she built her brand on this often criticized semi-homemade cooking method.
Welcome back to Semi Homemade. I'm Sandra Lee, and today is all about nutcrackers. This is my new little buddy.
See what I mean? It's not that hard to believe. This is the kind of woman who sort of depends on the convenience and safety of canned soup to survive. Besides, that saves plenty of budget for Sandra Lee's real favorites. Her semi-homemade recipes, such as soggy vegetables covered in sugar, home-frosted angel food cakes with culturally inaccurate theming, and large batch cocktails that will make your stomach hurt thanks to generously eyeballed proportions of both eggnog and vodka. Semi-homemade cooking with Sandra Lee in today's simple store-bought ingredients installment of Clip Breakdown. This is the playlist where we dive into our favorite movies, TV movies, and other such content here on the web, and we bring a good potato or a rotten potato. And but most importantly, if you're new to my channel, I would love to have you click that subscribe button right over here. That way you never miss new videos from me. I upload 2 new ones every week. I'm whining. Oh, did you know that souffle can just be anything? I'm pretty sure, like, isn't it like a quiche where you whip eggs into it and it's fluffy? Not always, not in the semi-homemade universe. One of the comments under this video on YouTube was that these first 2 shots perfectly sum up.
You need 2 large cans, and I want to strain those.
I ate a tin of tuna in water for breakfast this morning like a stray cat. But there's something about how she just splashed brown yam juice all across her jumper and then looked at the camera as though it's what she meant to do. We love the confidence. In fact, Sandra Lee obviously is a much more interesting person than some of the recipes she shows us. She grew up with really tight budget constraints when it came to feeding herself and her 4 siblings that she cared for. And she's a breast cancer survivor who has been cancer-free since 2015. And she's also been called out by one of the ghostwriters who helps with her recipes. Again, this yam souffle that she's making.
I'm gonna add a little bit of cinnamon and a little bit of spice, or should I say nutmeg. 1 teaspoon of each. I love the holidays.
That could cause organ damage in your dog or a small child. Eating too much nutmeg is really toxic. I know because I poisoned myself with it once as a teenager because you can supposedly get high off of it, but I think I more like gave myself sepsis. Loving Christmas age for me, like 8 or 9. Usually I don't get mentally taken back to that time of my life until I smell like my first, which I appreciate a lot more now that I've partnered with the sponsor of today's video, Scentbird. Scentbird is reimagining how people discover and shop for and even experience fragrances. Marketing. With each fragrance, you'll get a 30-day supply, so you're free to try out fragrances before committing to a full-size bottle. Most would cost over $150, but they can go from $300 to $500. You can discover new favorites using the scent quiz, answer a few questions, magnetically snaps over your 30-day supply of fragrance. In fact, I never travel with a full-size bottle of fragrance now that I have Scentbird. I am Benz, and that name, very interesting. Smell too cloying, but they have amberwood in there. I love these. I love fragrances, and I love Scentbird, and I think you will too, or a loved one in your life who is either a fragrance connoisseur or just a subscription service fanatic like me. Use my coupon code NICK55 for 55% off at Scentbird. It's just a little over $7 for your first month. Available for the USA and Canada. Anyway, Sandra Lee, can we put the nutmeg down? Let's just like try to move on to the drink menu or something. More nutmeg? Looks very dusty. Do you still have any of that leftover yam water? Especially if you're trying to watch your cholesterol.
2 cups of eggnog, so I'm gonna put the whole...
I think I'm more concerned with how my body will eliminate the massive amounts of dairy you just mixed into there. Help a newborn cow survive its first night in the barnyard. One thing you'll know pretty soon after you start watching Sandra Lee is that she loves her cocktails. Doesn't mean she knows how to make them though. That white rummy eggnog was called the Santa's Sleigh Ride, and this one here is called the Lush Lagoon.
2 shots of vodka. Then 1 shot of melon liqueur. Woo, that's gonna be strong.
Yeah, I bet. A tiny little splash of Midori can really stiffen up a 6-ounce cup of vodka. Oh, I guess there is also some mashed kiwi in there. That is literally the drink. 3 things really weirdly combined. You don't even want to strain that kiwi?
Gorgeous little lush lagoon with pretty little black seeds floating from those kiwis.
Aunt Sandy, there's absolutely no way you even think that sounds appetizing. Green lagoon water with tiny bits of black debris floating in it? It's supposed to look like a refreshing cocktail, not my swimming pool when I take the cover off at the beginning of the summer. I love when you can actually hear Sandra Lee laughing in between takes, like when something a little unexpected happens. For example, all these gross seeds sink to the bottom of her glass, and she's like, that's so pretty. They're just trying to make it through the shoot. Besides, you can make anything look elegant with the right garnish. I guess Sandra has to keep looking.
Then I'm gonna garnish this with just 2 kiwi slices that I reserved. Beautiful.
Not her saying beautiful when the garnish immediately sunk to the bottom, looking like someone who drowned inside the swamp that Shrek lives in.
Beautiful.
But it's the holidays, so obviously the entire menu can't be alcoholic beverages and unappealing savory foods. Sandra always throws in some sweet treats for the kids and the kids at heart, with centerpiece type decorations that are also functional. Actually, not so much functional as tree shaped, but that still feels right for the season.
All you want to do is just start off with a foam cone from the craft store. 6-inch, 10-inch, or maybe even something a little bit taller like a 12-inch would be nice.
I bet it would be nice, Sandra Lee. In fact, I say f all this Hobby Lobby shit. Let's go find a construction site and steal some traffic cones. Mama, we're grown women. We deserve the best. We deserve the brightest orange cones up our pussies. Cone up your pussy. Cone up your pussy for Christmas. This brilliant idea of Sandra Lee is called the candy tree, which you could set by your door, and when people are on their way out, your party guests can snag a piece of candy for a quick treat, while also experiencing one of the most dreaded urban legends regarding Halloween candy.
We're going to layer them onto the cone, and we are going to secure them with little T-pins, and then have a little dish next to your tree. So as your guests take the candy, they have a safe place to put those pins.
An even safer place to put them would be back in your old sewing kit, where they can have nothing to do with the foods that you're serving at a party for 3-year-olds. There's no safe way to put needles in candy or in an open dish next to the candy. Maybe we don't let the kids sleep over Aunt Sandy's anymore unless there's another adult there to help her. She's gonna be like, kids, look at the semi-homemade hors d'oeuvres I made for you. It's just store-bought frozen dumplings shoved into the barrel of this shotgun. A great trick is to use a chopstick to jam those dumplings really far down, so you have to suck them out of the barrel like a boba straw. I don't think she needed needles to accomplish the candy tree, like maybe use some double-sided tape, but whatever. I'm not in charge of your niece's mouth. Besides, that was last year. Sandra Lee likes a lot of diversity in her food forest is. It's Christmas time, baby. It's all about the tree.
Let's talk about these great donut trees. I put 2 toothpicks, and the reason why I'm using the icing is not only to help the donuts stick, even though the toothpicks do that.
Do they need to though? Again, it sounds like you're really fighting to keep the toothpicks and other sharp objects embedded in the dessert tray. As a guest, I would much rather just see the candy and donuts served in a bowl, because it's more low-key and less crazy sounding than gluing them vertically onto some sort of sculpture. But once again, a funky centerpiece is another really iconic aspect of Sandra Lee's brand. Actually, no, not just a single centerpiece, okay? Let me introduce you to the wonderful world of tablescapes. Tablescapes?
Tablescape. My tablescape. My tablescapes. Look at my tablescape. Wait till you see my tablescape.
A tablescape is like a mixed media landscape that takes place on a table. Sandra Lee loves coming up with tablescape themes for all of her parties. I love the ones that feature dusty looking faux fruit, or the table will just sometimes be piled with vintage store knickknacks, and then delicately layered with pieces of paper, plates, and place cards printed with the names of all of her gay friends. Chris, Owen, Nick. We love tablescapes because they're like part mood board, part larger than life scrapbook that you have to somehow try to have a tea party on top of. Nothing says the holidays like an overcrowded dining surface with no place to put my elbows. Of course, after so many years of semi-homemade cooking, Sandra and the producers have to keep going bigger and bigger to keep the audience engaged. I would say the day she unveiled her Italian topiary was one for the books in semi-homemade history.
come with me because I have a beautiful tablescape and you're not going to want to miss what I used for my centerpiece. I found this great antique chair and all I did was paint it gold with a can of spray paint.
Yes, you really did do that, didn't you, sweetheart? Wait, Sandra Lee, did you find that chair in the dumpster out back? I threw that out for a reason. Everybody back away, don't touch it. There's just a thin layer of metallic spray paint sealing in all the termites. I know that this took place during the more is more style trend of the new millennium, but I still crack up at these tablescapes because she'll just be like, this is my favorite tablescape so far. The theme is cups and hammers. I found these adorable hammers at just a hardware store, and then I hung these beautiful mugs from them so that they dangle and make noise as the ship rocks. I live on a boat. I'm just like, what is your life? Who is eating with you? If I sat down and I had like 3 pieces of cardstock glued together on top of a plastic plate, on top of a glass plate with a snowman-shaped napkin wrapped up underneath it, I would run away. That's someone who's gonna eat my brain. But not on Christmas, okay? Christmas is a special time reserved for buying unfrosted cakes and then frosting them yourself. Welcome to the Sandra Lee frosting era. She is very well known in an infamous type of way for her Hanukkah cake, but more so the Kwanzaa cake. Both have the same base recipe, so let's look.
The first one I want to make is going to be for Hanukkah. You're going to put quite a bit of food coloring in here, just blue food coloring. Where I live in California, before I frost the rest of this, I want to put my marshmallows in the center.
Phew, I'm so glad you remembered. You almost forgot to stuff that Hanukkah cake full of non-kosher gelatin marshmallows. I don't know if you noticed, but Sandra Lee is kind of a genius when it comes to including her non-Catholic holidays. What kind of adult doesn't want their mouth to turn blue from eating heavily dyed cake frosting? And if I can crack a tooth on a piece of plastic in the process, now we're really celebrating the 8 crazy nights of Hanukkah.
You can make a little Star David if you like, just using some wire and the same pearls and putting these together. You can buy them already pre-made.
Yeah, I'll probably go with the pre-made option for the entire cake. I don't get any pride out of buying something that's almost finished and then slathering it in nasty looking icing at home. But Sandra Lee stays in her BYO frosting era for many more years, always including some low effort design technique to give a little visual flair in a rustic way that doesn't really work. She'll be like, and once you're done frosting the cake, you can just sort of use your fingernails to scrape lines up the side of it. Yeah, see how cute? In this one, she even tells us, just remember, these plastic beads aren't edible, so take them off before you cut the... I know, I'm not the 8-year-old who's dazzled by the menorah. Okay, but now let's get some Kwanzaa representation. And you can tell, just like she knows what kosher is, Sandra Lee clearly understands what Kwanzaa is all about. Roasted nuts.
The most amazing angel food harvest cake for Kwanzaa. I use pie filling in the center of this. Decorating is so much fun. Use acorns.
Acorns? Sweetheart, are you celebrating Kwanzaa with a family of squirrels? Now, the ingredient being shown on screen is actually what most of us would call corn nuts. So I don't know if she misspoke there, but frankly, it only makes a marginal difference in having this cake appear more edible. Sandra Lee saw that these cakes had a hole in the top and she was like, what kind of schlop can I smear in there?
The apple, the cinnamon, the angel food cake, the icing.
Okay, that sounds like a combination of flavors that would happen inside of my dishwasher. She said toothpaste, orange juice, coffee, Sour Patch Kids, sausage, sweet tea. Like, stop. At what point are we able to ban someone from publishing new recipes? Did you like burn your tongue really bad as a child? Is that what happened? While that Kwanzaa cake is easily one of the most critically panned recipes from Sandra Lee that still follows her to this day, this next episode is the holiday cocktail party, which, as you can imagine, is where Sandra really comes to life. She said, all liquid menu, baby, we got this. Guess what? She'll even teach you how to craft your own party favors that people can bring home with them if they so choose. This clip goes to show that not every semi-homemade recipe is necessarily simple.
I've taken graham crackers and I've covered each graham cracker, one with white royal icing, candy canes, line them right in the royal like this, put royal icing on a little bit of royal icing, because this red one is going to go on top of licorice and royal icing. So I'm going to put some icing on the bottom of this. Super simple.
I beg to differ. That tutorial got so complex that I zoned out and thought we were assembling a full-size sleigh. But nope, it's just some cookies and candy that we glued together so that we could give it to our party guests, even though it looks like a child made it. She does so much extra in this. Like, she takes Starbursts and wraps them in a fruit roll-up to make a bag full of presents. Like, who's gonna open that bag? I mean, I will, knowing that there's Starburst, I'm definitely gonna open it, but like, no, I wanna take a bite out of it like a fruit roll-up apple. Anyway, the presents made of Starburst with icing, I'm like, these are all gross combinations. But it really does come together and look a lot more clumsy once we add in our store-bought passengers.
You can even put one of these wonderful little cookie bears here. In the grocery stores, as you well know, they sell all those little candy chocolate Santas. I'm gonna put him on his little bench. Now that's a great favor.
No thanks, Aunt Sandy, I don't want that. You would be doing me an even more great favor if you just stopped inviting me to these parties altogether. The food is always disgusting and it's a waste of my time, but I can't say no to seeing the inside of a tacky person's apartment. This lady took all of the glasses from her bar and hung them on the tree and expects people to go up and find a shot glass in there whenever they need it. You're a Christmas demon by doing that, okay, Sandy? What do you think of Semi-Homemade Cooking by Sandra Lee? Were you a fan of this show in the early 2000s? Do you love Sandra Lee now? I kind of stan. Let me know what you think below and what other Food Network content I should break down here on the channel, but most importantly, if you're new here, I would love to have you click that subscribe button right over here. That way you never miss new videos from me. Give this video a big thumbs up to let me know you want to see more videos like this. Also, don't forget that I have a merch and a Patreon where you can access exclusive bonus content and virtual watch parties. This is probably gonna be the shortest video I've made in like 13 months. Feels weird, but I like it. Thanks again to Scentbird for sponsoring today's video. Check out their links below. You guys are all the greatest. Thank you so much for helping me smear bright blue frosting on my bare bundt cake shaped ass today. I will semi-homemade see you next time.